Hey everybody, my name is Michael Forrest and welcome to It's Go Time. And before we get going, I'm going to ask if everybody can stay off of the stage area here. This way nobody blocks the display behind me and gives me a little bit of room to move around the little hosting thing, right? Got a small crowd today, but how many of you, just a quick show of hands or emojis, how many of you have been here before? We've got two ways we can do this. We can do a question and answer type thing, or we can do the normal presentation. Let me see some smiles, if you smile emojis, if you know how to do that. If you want to see the regular presentation that we normally do. Smile emojis, anybody? No? Okay, so you want to see one, we got one for regular, okay. Anybody want to, okay, so it's 2, 3, okay, cool. All right, yeah, that's what we'll do. All right, awesome. All right, so let's see here. Now, Go Time is an event for Oculus Go users, but all are welcome. So if you're on the device, feel free to hang out because you may pick up some tips and information that'll be, useful when you come in contact with Go users in Altspace, because there's a lot of Go users in Altspace and there's more arriving every day. Now, if I can direct your attention to your menu wheel in your lower left, you're going to notice at the very top of this menu wheel is a microphone icon. And when that microphone icon is clear, that means we can hear what's happening around you in your environment. So we've gone ahead, we turned that to red, and this means that you're muted. So if somebody comes into your space and says, hey, are you still on that thing? Feel free to answer them because we're not going to hear that, right? Likewise, if you have like a barking dog or something like that in the background, you're not going to face social ruin back at the campfire by becoming known as the avatar that suddenly started barking during its go time, right? Now, just because you're muted doesn't mean you can't express yourself. You're going to notice there's this pink cheek smiley emoji, on your menu wheel there. You can use this to express yourself. Like, gives you a wide variety of options to do that with. Like, if I share something really deep, something powerful, something meaningful, and it starts to build up inside you, you can just let it out, let it flow, just like that. Maybe you've got some backup dancers, backstage there, and they come out, and we break into, it's Go Time the musical, and you're all very impressed. You can throw up the applause I live for, just like that. You can take a moment to drink it in because it feels good. By asking guys a yes or no question, you can say yes by smiling like this. You can say no by frowning like this. Maybe I say something funny. You want to show me you're laughing? You can do this whole silly face emoji to indicate that you're laughing. And then there's this. This is not how you ask a question. This is how you alert me that we will be taking questions at the end of this event. But if this happens, that means you're trying to alert me that there's some kind of problem going on. Like maybe I'm waving my hands around like this, but you guys aren't hearing my voice. And you're like, it looks like that guy's talking. It looks like he's saying something, but there's no sound coming out. Or maybe the display behind me bursts into flames. Sometimes our moderators can get a little carried away with special effects, and they'll do things like try to burn down my set, try to exact revenge. Also, you have that X in the middle of the emoji panel that'll close it, but it's a good idea to leave it open during events like this. It gives me feedback, lets me know how I'm doing, and more importantly, it lets the people around you know what you're experiencing, right? So the person next to you starts going like this, that means they found something funny, right? And you may not agree. You might be like, you know what? That's not funny at all. I'm going to go stand over here. And you can do that because this is VR, right? All right, now let's get going. Now, being on an Oculus Go in Altspace is not without its challenges. Okay, you're gonna find that there are certain issues that you're gonna encounter in Altspace. And speaking of challenges, I've been in bed for about the past 2 years due to a medical condition. It's gotten a lot better, but when I first got my Oculus Go, I could not wait to get in here. I was really. You guys remember that the very first time you put on a headset, and even if you're on a device, you remember the very first time you put on a VR headset and that feeling you were taken away to another world. Man, I couldn't wait for that. And I was reading a lot about Altspace at the time, and I could not wait to get in here. So, I put the headset on, and Altspace was my first stop. I stepped out of the load screen. The very first thing I did as a newly minted avatar was I looked up. And I looked up and I saw the sky, and it looked a lot like what I remember a sky looking like, right? So and I was really grateful for it. I was so grateful I started volunteering for Altspace the very first day I was in here. And I found my battery kept dying. I wouldn't make it through entire events when I would moderate for them. My battery would run out of power. I'd have to charge up. I'd have to find the event host and, explain why I flaked out. And it was, got off to kind of a rocky start in here. And, but I started asking questions. I was like, how can I improve my situation? How can I make my device perform better? And I started collecting this information, and this information eventually led to this event, right? And the stuff I started hearing in the beginning, like I heard some stuff. Like I heard that this laser pointer here, I was told that on Oculus Go I wouldn't be able to work this thing. And you know what? That turned out to not be true. And these slides behind me, right? I was told that I would be able to work these on an Oculus Go. And you know what? That turned out to not be true. And I was told that despite having a background presenting material like this, I was told that my device wasn't reliable enough for me to host events. And you know what? That also turned out to not be true. And this told me there was a huge disconnect between what people thought it was like to be on an Oculus Go versus the reality of what it actually was like to be on one. And a lot of people saying these things, they've never been on a Go before, so they didn't know. They didn't know what it was like, right? So, I started, asking a lot of questions and trying to figure it out. And listen, that's not to say that there aren't problems being on an Oculus Go. There absolutely are. And a lot of these problems are solvable, all right? And I'm going to show you how to do that. And the ones that aren't solvable are manageable, all right? So we're going to show you how to do that too. There's two approaches you can take. You can work with the device you already have on your head, so you're going to learn some stuff here today. Before you even leave, you're going to be having a better experience, right? We're going to show you how to do that stuff. And also, you can upgrade your experience to exceed the limitations of your device. And I say it like that because, listen, I can't stand that term. There's a lot of terms like that. They go say limitations. They'll say, weaker device, inferior device. I mean, I can't stand it when I hear words like that, right? Because, listen, there's another word that gets tossed around Altspace an awful lot, and that's community. You, the individual, make up the communities that are represented in Altspace, not what kind of device you're on. The Oculus Go is an incredible way to get introduced to VR. You don't have to worry about the complexity of two controllers. You don't have to worry about the vertical movement. You can kind of adjust to VR at your own pace, and it's a really great device to get started on. It really is. And I feel about the Go the way most people feel about their first car. All right, I love the device. I think it's really great. But that's not to say there aren't problems. There are some issues, and we're going to address those. Let's start with the device that you already have on your head. Because listen, if somebody tells you every day they don't like your shirt, right, you're going to start thinking after a while it's not the shirt they don't like. So just remember that you're not your device any more than you are your house or your car or anything like that. You got to think of your device as kind of a vehicle that brings you in here. You're the important part of that equation. All right, now let's see here. Now, start the devices on your head. You may not realize this, but when your device, loses power even when it's not in use, right? So you're going to notice that, cool shirt, Jeff. I like that. That's very cool. All right, you're going to find that your device loses power even when it's not in use. So if you go to bed with it and it has 100% charge, you got it on a table there, right? And in the morning, by the time you wake up, you're going to look up and you're going to notice that your headset has a much lower charge. And the reason for this is because it's looking for updates to apps. It's looking for updates to the firmware. Maybe it's got a secret life you don't know anything about. Maybe it's got like a pen pal on the other side of the world. Maybe it's like a superhero and it's bringing justice to VR or something like that. You don't know, but it's losing power, when you're not using it. And so it's important, to come in on a full charge because listen, if you come into Altspace and you have like a 20% battery charge, you're going to notice things like the screen flickers around and the performance on it isn't going to be good. You're going to have more problems. But what you want to do is like if you're looking at what events are coming up tonight and you're out in the real world, you go to altvr.com and you look at the event schedule and you see what's coming up, you're going to notice like, oh, look, it's go time tonight. And you're going to hear good things about the host. He's, got this hair. He's got this shirt you're starting to see everywhere, right, Jeff? Right? Am I right, Jeff? That shirt, right? You're starting to see it everywhere, right? And you want to go check it out. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that your battery, you plug it in about an hour before the event starts. And then you come in on a full charge, right? And, you're going to notice once you get in, right, on that full charge, you put your headset on. And the very first thing you should do before you do anything, as soon as you turn your headset on, you put it on your head, and as soon as you're at the Oculus home screen, the very first thing you should do is press and hold down that power button right in the middle there for about 4 or 5 seconds. When you do, you're going to see 3 buttons appear in the air in front of you. That middle button's going to say restart. You press on that restart button, and this is going to get rid of all those temporary files. So those temporary files that get built up, they can cause problems. So this is going to put your headset in the best state that it can be in. You get 100% charge. You basically cleared your mind out by resetting, your device like that. And then you head into Altspace and you step out of the load screen. And you may have noticed what an important role body language plays when you're in Altspace, right? Like let's say you're, in an event like this and a moderator comes up to you and they start shaking their head this back and forth, right? And that means don't do that thing, right? Or maybe somebody makes it up onto the stage here, right? And you see me going like this with my hand. Without me saying a word, that means get off my stage, right? But occasionally what's going to happen is, on an Oculus Go in particular, is you're going to find that your real world hand might be right here, but your avatar's hand might be way up here. And when that happens, your body language isn't going to match. Like I can go to wave somebody off the stage like that, but all you guys are going to see is my hand waving around like this, and you're going to be like, it looks like he's saying hello, right? But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying get off my stage, right? So what you can do to fix this, right, is on your trackpad, on your controller, right, you have a trackpad, and then you have a button, and then you have another button on the very bottom. Now, don't press this now, because if it disappears, I'm going to feel it. But that bottom button, you got to think of that like an eject button, right? It's going to eject you out of Altspace, but it does something else too. If you hold your hand out, and this you can try, if you hold your hand at your side like this, and you press and hold that eject button for about 3 or 4 seconds, you're going to see this white circle spin in the air in front of you, and then all of a sudden your hand is going to snap into place. right? And when that happens, take a good look at your hand and ask yourself, is this where my hand is in the real world? If it is, then you're good, right? If not, do it as many times as you need to until you feel comfortable, right? Only you can determine what's comfortable for you. And you just follow that process until you feel like it matches. Because once it does, your body language is going to become a lot more convincing. And that's actually going to affect, how you communicate with people in all spaces. It isn't always, just about what you say. Sometimes it's about, your body language. It plays a really important role in here. All right, now another thing you're going to notice is, those circles on your lower left, microphone icon, your emoji panel, your main menu button there. Occasionally, you're going to notice that those drift around from time to time in Altspace. You're going to notice, like maybe it goes behind you, right? Or maybe it goes right in front of you and you feel like you're going to trip over it, right? It can make you feel a little off balance when that happens, right? It's important to remember that, like, another thing too is if it goes behind you, how are you going to reach it if you can't bend your elbow, right? It can be difficult to reach that. So it's important to remember that your main menu is in your hand at all times, right? Just below your trackpad, you're going to find that there's a button right in the middle there, right? That's actually your menu button. And when you press it, your main menu is going to open up. So if you look, and an added bonus is if you look straight ahead when you press that menu button, your menu is going to open up in front of you. When you press it again, that menu is going to close. But if you were looking straight ahead when you did this, you're going to find that that menu wheel goes back to where it's supposed to, right? It'll be back on your left side where it belongs, right? All right. So so if your menu wheel ever drifts around, just open and close your menu by using your controller, and you'll find that it goes right back to where it's supposed to. This is as long as you're looking straight ahead when you do it. All right, now another thing that can happen from now and then is you're going to notice that one of the best pieces of advice I actually got when I first started out, when my battery was dying all the time, somebody told me to turn down my brightness, and I didn't want to do it. I wanted to have the best graphic experience I could possibly have in Altspace, right? I really did. I wanted to have a great experience in here. And, so I had my brightness turned way up, like retina burning levels. I mean, it was painful, but my graphics were awesome, or so I thought. What I did was every time I came into Altspace, I would turn that brightness. I'd go down from the Oculus main menu. On the right-hand side, you got where it says settings, and then right in the middle there, you got where it says brightness. I turned auto brightness off, and then there's this big blue bar where you can adjust the brightness. And every time I came into Altspace, I turned that brightness down a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, until finally the brightness was completely off. And I came into Altspace, and I couldn't believe what I saw. Right? I went into this event where I would, moderate, and it's one of the events I first started out with, and they had this tree off in the corner, and all the moderators would hang out there before the event started. And I'm walking up to the tree, right? And I couldn't believe it. Right? That tree looked more real than I'd ever seen it before, right? So the graphics actually got better. If you turn down the brightness, you're going to find that you get better graphics. You get better performance, but most importantly, you're going to find your battery lasts longer. And I started making it through entire events, and I found out people hung out after events, and I want to do that too. So I started being able to spend more time in here, and I thought that was great, And then listen, around the time I found out one of the main reasons that Go users get kind of a bad reputation in Altspace is because you know what? On the Oculus Go, the microphone, it's extremely powerful, right? And the sound comes out of your head straps, out of your ear straps there, and it gets picked up by this microphone, and that sound gets projected out into Altspace. But here's the thing. We don't know what we sound like in Altspace, right? I was an event host for months in Altspace before I finally found out what I sound like. I didn't know until we actually got this YouTube channel. You'll see Raven and I floating up in the air there, right? That's our YouTube channel. If you want to wave on out to YouTube, right, you can get on. We got Periwinkle here. We got Jeff, one of our regulars. We got Kayla. We got Dorian helping us out today. We got TSQ, we got Eric Karros, we got Sheldon, we got a lot of people here today. Come on into Altspace, it's fun, right? Just wave on out to YouTube like that. But before I did that, I didn't know what I sounded like in Altspace. I really didn't. I had no idea. And so what can happen is, like, let's say you're in the campfire and you're walking up to a group of avatars, and all of a sudden, you haven't said a word, but all of a sudden, all these avatars, they turn and they face you, right? They turn and they look at you, and they go, and they come at you and they go, "Do you want to go? Do you want to go?" Right? That doesn't feel good when that happens. Right? And the reason it happens is they're standing there, they're talking to their friends. I'm standing there, I'm talking to Deanne here. And I'm like, you know what, Deanne, you heard that thing that was going on? And all of a sudden I hear a voice. And that voice is very familiar. Right? And I turn around and I see somebody coming at me. And it's their avatar with my voice coming out of it. Right? It's not a good feeling when that happens. And it's also how your voice was in the past, because there's a sound delay. So it's like when somebody's trying to copy you can't concentrate on the conversation. It's difficult. Fortunately, it's really easy to fix this. What you can do is on the top of your headset, on the left-hand side, you got your volume up and your volume down buttons, right next to each other. And when you press either of them, you're going to see these vertical bars appear in the air in front of you. Some will be solid and some will be clear. What you're going for is 4 clear bars on the right side. That's 4 ticks away from the maximum, right? When you set your volume to this level, the microphone's not going to pick up the sound as easily, but it comes as a trade-off. You're going to occasionally strain to hear people. right? And what you can do is, remember, you still have one good hand in the real world, right? Now, what you can do with this hand is you can hold it up, like kind of cup it to your ear, and try this now. If you take your left hand and you cup it to your left ear like that, you're going to find that my voice goes up and it gets louder, right? So this is a way to temporarily increase the volume. But, one foolproof way to fix this is to add a pair of headphones to your device, right? This will ensure that the only voice coming out of your avatar is your own, right? In my case, I got a pair of inexpensive earbuds. My wife went to the library and she got an audiobook, and they gave her these earbuds for free. And she says I stole them, but honestly, I acquired them creatively to solve a problem. Okay, I don't think that's really the same thing, is it? Right? And they remain there to this day. Okay, and that really solved the problem. After that, the only voice coming out of my avatar was mine. Occasionally, you'd still, you'd hear, say, "Are you still on that thing?" We fixed that too. We got her own headset. Now she comes in Altspace, and she's a very, talented moderator. She helps us out. She's a very gifted world builder too. Altspace, lucky to have. But this got me thinking: what else can I add to my device to make it perform better? And I came up with what I call a Go Plus experience. And I call it this because, listen, I would go to these heavy performant worlds, right, where there's a lot going on, and other Go users would, they'd fall into the floor when they disappear as they crashed, and I'd still be standing there. And yeah, it got a little choppy now and then, but for the most part, my device became super reliable, and yours can too. All you have to do is make a couple of small changes, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But remember something here, okay? Now, to do this, I'm going to have to talk about these products up here, but in order to talk about them, I like to say that these are not the only products that work. It's not these products that are important, it's the ideas behind them that matter. These are just the ones that I myself use, so I feel comfortable recommending them, okay? Now, and the temptation is going to be to write this stuff down. You do not need to do that. We made it easy for you to get to it. If you go to altvr.com, you'll see in the upper left, it says channels. And if you click on channels, you're going to see all these Altspace event channels. Down toward the bottom, you're going to see Ravenhole events. It says in a sound booth there. And if you click on that, you get taken to our event page. And, there you'll see on the left-hand side, all of these products, like with links to them. So if you want to try any of them out, we make them easy for you to find. There's also a join Discord button if you want to get in touch with us, if you have any questions. There's also the most important button on the internet, the subscribe button, right? Whenever you click on that, it lets Altspace know that you enjoy our content, and we don't get paid to do this, so we feel good every time that number goes up, right? Also, on our YouTube channel, under every Go Time video, we have those products also listed there too, if you want to check it out that way. All right, so that's how you can find this stuff. Now, what are these? The first product I'm going to talk about is the Anker Power Cord Battery Pack. Because Oculus says it's not a good idea to use our headsets while they're plugged in, but they say you can use an external battery pack. And I figure this would solve my power problem. I'd be able to last longer if I got this. And around the time I got this, I had heard that some people were having problems charging their devices. And I don't know if you noticed this, but when you plug in your device, that port is kind of really tight, right? And I thought over time, all that wear and tear would loosen the connection and the contacts. And sure enough, people after a few months of use started having trouble charging their devices, right? So what I got was MagSafe cable here, and one tip goes into your device, the USB goes into the battery there, and it's held in place by a magnetic connector, which turns out it's a great safety feature, because if you have this on and you turn your head and it pulls on the wire, instead of having your headset pull down, your whole world go upside down, it just pops off, right? And you hear it, and you're like, oh, what happened? And then you don't even have to come out of VR to fix this. You can just hold it up to the side, right? Just like that, and all of a sudden, right, it'll thunk into place. And if your microphone's open, all your friends are going to hear that thunk sound, and they're going to be like, what was that? And you're going to be like, that's power. That's what that was. You don't have to say that. It doesn't make it work any differently. I just like doing that myself, right? Now, as soon as I did this solved my power problem, because that battery that lasted about 16 hours, right? And I figured I'd never need to be in VR for that long. But what happened was, while it was lasting longer, I had a new problem. I started overheating all the time. Any of you guys ever overheat? I'm seeing some nods here. All right, yeah. That overheating thing, it's a real pain. And everybody experiences it differently, because the faceplate on the headset is installed by hand. So some people overheat every half hour. I knew a guy that overheated every 2 minutes. Very first Go Time we had somebody in the audience that told us that their headset, they actually sent me a picture of it. The whole headset became deformed, right? Like from the heat, it actually got pushed in, right? And this worried me. I knew this was something we had to solve. But around that time, I'd also heard people were using ice packs to put on their headset to bring the temperature down. And I don't recommend doing this because of condensation, water, electricity on your face, probably not a good mix, right? And the people I know that tried this actually went through more than one headset. So I don't think it's good for the equipment. But what you can do that actually solves this problem is this AC Infinity mini fan, right? It's USB, it plugs into the battery, it's small, it's a mini fan, it fits right in the palm of your hand, right? And you put the silver part facing the faceplate, and you got to hold it in place somehow. Some people use string. In my case, I acquired creatively some hairbands from my wife. Again, she says I stole them, right? But I did. I just acquired them creatively to solve a problem. And I attached them to my headset this way. I just crossed them over through my straps on the headset, and I made kind of an X on the faceplate there. And it's really lightweight. You don't even feel it that it's on there. And I came into Altspace to test it. And as luck would have it, I was set to moderate at the meditation event that day, right? And I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but it's an incredible space. It's on top of a mountain. You got smoke coming up from the bowls. It's like sunlight coming down through the fog. It's beautiful. But, I would always overheat exactly 20 minutes into that experience for some reason. It was always 20 minutes. So it was a great place to test it. So I got my fan on and I came in early because I was a moderator, and I went up to the event host, Jeremy, super nice guy. And I said, "Can you hear my fan?" And he says, "Not at all." And I turned up the power on it a little bit to medium. I said, "How about now?" He's like, "I can hear it a little bit, but it's not that bad." And I turned it up to full blast before I could even ask. He says, "Oh, I can definitely hear that. It sounds like you're in a wind tunnel." So to be safe, I turned it down to the lowest setting. And spoiler alert, I never had to turn it up again. All right, and at the lowest setting, this is what happened. 20 minutes came and went, and I didn't overheat at all. Right, and I thought this is a good sign. Right, then the event ended. Right, and I said, "Okay, well, where's the line?" So I went to another 2 events in a row, didn't overheat once, and I went to another event, 3 events in a row, did not overheat. Then I went to my home space, I hung out with my friends for like a while, right? Then it happened. For the very first time, I left Altspace by choice. I didn't leave because I ran out of power. I didn't leave because I overheated, right? It was the very first time that I left Altspace because I wanted to, not because I had to, right? And it wouldn't be the last time. After that, I became super involved. I started moderating events, hosting events. I was all over Altspace. I was very, prolific host, and I was just everywhere. And you can be too. All you have to do is make a couple small changes. And none of this is very expensive, by the way. This mini fan here, this is only about $10 or $11 US. This MagSafe cable is only about $7 US. And the most expensive thing up here is the battery pack. That's about $30 or $40 US. They come in different sizes, capacities, and colors. You may not need one that lasts 15 hours. You may only be spending a few hours, in Altspace at night. And I'm seeing the frown actually, Dan. This is good news. This is nothing to be sad about. This is a good thing, right? It definitely can change your Altspace experience. It really can. All right, now that to be said, there were still problems being on the go. There were, but these are more like annoyances, and I'm going to show you how to solve a couple of them and how to manage them. The first one's a movement issue. Like if I turn left and say something, to Dorian here, instead of turning left, I go straight, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't mean to do that. That was weird, right? And then I go to turn right to say something to Yi, but instead of turning right, I go straight again, and I'm like, whoa, that was kind of weird, right? So I push down on my controller to move backwards, but I go straight again. And I'm like, I didn't want to do that. And I start pushing on buttons, I start bashing, and no matter what I do, I keep moving forward. And the next thing you know, I'm standing inside of an admin. All right? There is nothing more frightening than standing inside of an admin. When I was in there, man, I saw things about, user accounting. I saw things about development. I saw things about the past and the future. And it was just, it keeps me up nights, the things I saw. I can't talk about it. What I can talk about is how to fix this if it happens to you. All right? What you're going to want to do is you're going to take your thumb and without pushing down on the trackpad, very gently swipe it from right to left or from left to right. Doesn't make a difference, but important, just don't push down. Just gently swipe. And then when you get to the other side, lift your thumb up in the air and cross over to the other side and come down and do it again. You do this 2 or 3 times and then come down in the direction that you want. So like, let's say I'm walking along in Altspace and all of a sudden I go to move to the turn on my left, but instead of turning left, I move straight. On reflex, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go swipe, 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 and then move in the direction I want to, and it's going to take care of that. All right, so that should fix that if that happens to you. Another thing you're going to occasionally notice, right, and it doesn't happen a lot, but every now and then you're going to notice you put your headset on, and there's going to be a notice that says can't find controller. And you put a fresh battery in that last night, because that can happen. If your battery runs out, you're going to need to replace it. You'll get that message. But every so often, even though you have a full charge in your controller, your headset and your controller stop talking to each other. Maybe your controller found out about your headset's secret life and isn't happy about it. Right? That could happen, right? So what now? Fortunately, you don't even have to take your headset off to fix this. All right? All you have to do is remember 2 words, double down. And what I mean by this is just below your trackpad, you have these 2 buttons, right? If you press and hold these for about 4 seconds, a little small white light's going to appear on the top of your trackpad. But if you're wearing your headset, you're not going to see that. But what you will see, when you lift your thumb back up, you're going to see that you have your hand back. All right, and you're going to come into the load screen, and you're going to be on time for your event. You're going to be like, man, I sure am glad I went to go time. That Michael Forrest, he knew what he was talking about. He told me to double down, and now I get to be on time for my event. And if that happens to you, you're welcome. All right, cool, very good. All right, now another thing that can happen now and then is you're going to notice that your headset goes dark in Altspace. So the reason for this is because everything you see in this room takes up memory. Like, the stage, all the avatars, this rug here, and this big red shiny button that we use at the end of our events. This is like in your headset right now, and it's going to stay there. So after this event, you may be back at the campfire and you're not thinking about go time anymore, but your headset still is, right? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get ahead of this before it happens. If you're doing like a lot of world happening, like let's say you went to 3 worlds and your friend says, where do you want to go now? And you say, well, you want to go by the campfire? And they go, sure. All you have to do is say, I'll catch up. And then all you do is press that bottom eject button. And when you do press that button, you're going to see a choice to quit or resume. That's great if you press it by accident. You can press resume, come back in Altspace. But if your screen's gotten dark, you just you want taking care of it from an advanced position, which is what you should do, right? So by clearing out your memory manually, this is how you do it. You press that eject button on the bottom of your controller, right? And then press quit, and then restart the app and come back in with your memory clear. And that's going to solve, your screen going dark because you're choosing when it happens. All right. Now, at this point, I normally give some world building tips, but I'm running a little bit behind on time. I'm happy to go over them though if you guys want. Throw me up some hearts if you want to see the world building tips, and otherwise we'll go right to questions. Show me some smiles if you want to go like right on through. I got 1 for world building, 1 for questions, comments. All right, it's kind of a tie. Somebody's gonna have to break the tie. Let's see. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Still a tie. All right, we're going straight to questions. All right, sorry, Dan. Better you got outvoted. All right, I managed the time better there. All right, so you are going to see a raise hand button appear on your lower right, as if by magic, right? Let's get that set up. Here we go. And now, if you have a question or a comment, just press that raise hand button, and we'll get you on the air. And I get to feel like a radio host when you do that. While we're waiting for that to fill up, if you guys are on Twitter and you want to follow us, you can find us at Ravenhall @__Uncanny Valley. I realize it looks like 1 underscore, but it is actually 2. All right, let's see. I don't see any questions. Okay, that's weird. I thought we were going right to questions, but nobody's pressed the raise hand button. All right. Oh, here we go. We got Deanne. Deanne, what's up? You're on the air, Deanne. What's going on?
What about when you see rainbow? Like
When you
out
see a
of nowhere?
rainbow out of
Like you
nowhere.
just
You mean like in some worlds there's a rainbow that somebody put in there? They built the rainbow? Or you're seeing like a rainbow that
no,
you don't mean to see
it's like when you see a whole bunch of colors when you're glitching out.
when you're glitching out? Okay, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's usually a sign that your device is about to overheat. So getting that fan would probably help that an awful lot when that happens, right? Because when you see the colors kind of, warble like that, and it's kind of like, I know what you're talking about. It's like looking through a prism. The rainbow is a good way to describe it. But that usually means that your device is about to overheat. Have you noticed that like the heating warning like pops up shortly after that?
Mm-mm, never did.
No? Okay. Maybe it's just getting close, but that means your device is struggling, right? And one of the things that's going to make it struggle less is if you get one of these external USB mini fans. That'll help you an awful lot. You're going to find that makes that happen less and less. All right? What was the frowning before about? You were throwing frowns up before. What was that?
Because the thing is too expensive, $30 to $40.
Oh, yeah, but it comes in different sizes. You can get much, much less expensive batteries for the headset. External batteries, they come much smaller than that. All right, so yeah, that is the most expensive thing that's up there. That's true. You're right. I appreciate that. That's a really good reason to frown, actually. All right, good. Oh, whoa, a rainbow. All right, now that's just funny. I've seen the moderators mess around before, but this has to be one of the best ones because you just brought up a rainbow in there. So in there is a rainbow. Okay. This isn't really like trolling moderators. This is actually pretty good. I can actually put it in my hand like that, all right? Come on in my hand. All right. Let's see. We don't have anyone else on the list. What we are going to do is we're going to head over to the Ravenhall Flight Academy. And the way we're going to do this is I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to push that red button on the wall over there. And when I press it, you're going to see Ravenhall Talon hovercraft that you guys could actually fly if you'd like to. It's going to fly down the street. You're going to see it go by out the window. It's going to go up over those trees and it's going to land out in the yard to meet us to take us away there. Right, so if you'd like to give that a try, what we're going to do is going to press this button right now, and call it.
Ravenhall Talon aircraft en route to your position.
All right, here it comes. That's what one looks like. You can fly these if you want. And it's going to go fly her up there, and we're going to go out in the back to meet it. So let's all head out in the back there, and thank you for joining us. Listen, if you guys have learned anything at all here today, please share it with those you come in contact with. So if you're in a campfire and somebody says they're always overheating, tell them about the fan, tell them about go time, and that's kind of how we keep this thing going, right? Now, when this lands, you're going to see a teleporter pop out, and you're going to go into that
Talon aircraft is now boarding outside for transport to the Ravenhall Flight Academy. Please exit the building and step into the blue light. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, everybody. You've been a great audience. I'll see you next time.